Bonjour à tous. La grande famille, c'est quoi? C'est une conversation où j'invite des personnes au grand cœur. Vous y retrouverez des femmes et des hommes de multiples nationalités qui ont un point commun, celui de partager un morceau de leur vie. Alors sans plus attendre, je laisse place au podcast de la grande famille. Hi Aurélie.
Hello.
It's always a big pleasure for me to share this moment with new invited people. So you're an American girl who have lived the au pair experience in France. And
Yes.
what we like and what we love in the podcast La Grande Famille is to understand what the au pair experience give you in terms of self-development and how it helps you in your own track to know you better and to become the person you are now. Could you please explain us how old are you, where do you come from, and how did you decide to come in France and to leave your country and your family?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm 26. When I decided to be an au pair, I was 25. I am from the Boston area, but grew up predominantly in Florida. I have a degree in psychology and a minor in women's and gender studies. And I've always loved working with children and helping children become who they will be and helping them discover those curiosities. I was working after I graduated from university. I wanted to become an au pair, but it was 2020 and it wasn't quite the time to go abroad. So I decided to wait and I worked for a couple of years at a nonprofit law firm because ideally after this, I'd like to work in the nonprofit sector. So I worked for a couple of years after university and I was 25. It was right before my 25th birthday and had actually seen an ad for Butterfly on social media somewhere. I was just like, oh yeah, I would have loved to do that, but now I feel like it's too late. And had this strange, like, now or never moment. If I'm not going to do it now, I'm never going to do it. So I made a Butterfly account, not necessarily serious about being an au pair, just thinking, like, oh, I'll just do it and see what happens. And got contacts from host families saying that they wanted to talk to me. And I just felt excited. I could do this if I really wanted to. So I matched with the family that I decided to go with. We had a call and it just felt so right. So I matched with them in February and was here by the end of April. I just decided, I was like, you know what, it's time. So it was very quick and I'm so happy I did it. I think above all else, it gave me perspective on how my life was, how my life can be, that if I truly decide it's a now or never moment, it's something I want to do for my life. It gave me the courage to take those leaps into whatever I choose to do after this. So it really gave me courage and perspective and excitement for what life can be.
All right. What is interesting is that you say that you had the objective or the dream to be au pair, but at the beginning you just register and you was not sure. So it's step by step that you trust it and you find the confidence to say, okay, I go.
Yeah, it was absolutely my own fears. I didn't understand why anyone would want me. I knew I wanted to go to France because my family is French. I mean, we're American very deeply, but we once came from France. My last name is Chabot. So I grew up knowing that I was French, but didn't speak French, have no family who lives in France. So I knew I wanted to go to France if I did this. So I didn't know why anyone would want me. I don't speak French. I had the time had never been out of the United States. I'd been to Mexico on like a cruise. I've never, other than that, been to Europe. I didn't know why anyone would want me. It gave me the confidence to be like, well, I have a degree in psychology with some specializations in childhood development. I've babysat and nannied since I was a teenager and nannied through college. You know, why wouldn't someone want me? So it gave me that confidence to be like, it's my time.
All right. So you have studied a degree in psychology before traveling and to France. And can you talk with us? Why did you choose psychology? Is the choice to be au pair something linking with the psychology?
I think the choice to be an au pair more so connected with my previous childcare work, the fact that I babysat since I was 12 and nannied through college. But I think that my degree in psychology, I chose it because I thought I wanted to go into healthcare, but I didn't want to hide myself in the prospect of, I don't know, doing pre-med or something like that. So I decided to do psychology because I could really make it what I wanted to be. I mean, I was 18 and didn't know what I wanted to do. So it was like, this is broad enough where I can kind of make of it what I want. If I want to go to law school, if I want to go to med school, whatever. I fell in love with psychology because it really connects all of us and makes us reflect on ourselves and also externally on how other people think and how cultures. Now psychology is very much sociology and psychology, how cultures connect, how people connect. It all really comes together. So I would say that from my psychology degree, what came with me was my classes on childhood development, really understanding that when my 3 year old was having his tantrums, it's because something in his brain wasn't making sense. And it gave me the opportunity to give him that patience that he required. That was definitely helpful.
Yes, of course. Before living and traveling to France, did you already lived alone, or was you living with your parents?
I lived with roommates. I was living in Denver, Colorado, where I was living and working with roommates. So I lived alone, but not out of the house, not with my mom. So
Okay. Was it difficult to live with a family you didn't know who talk a different language of you?
It was. My host mom, she spoke fluently English, so her I communicated with in English. Speaking to my host dad, though, he didn't really speak English, so I really had to work on my French as soon as I arrived to communicate with him. But I would say there were challenges going from living out of your parents' house to going into another mama's house and having to go by their rules. And it felt almost kind of like I went from being a 25-year-old independent to back to like, I don't know, an older sister, like a teenager living in their house. I got to kind of find my role in that balance between being a 25, 26-year-old independent woman, but also being part of their family, being like a big sister role. So it was really about finding that balance between the two.
Yes. And how old was the children of the family?
When I arrived, they were a year and a half and 3. So I didn't really work a whole lot with the baby. And then yeah, he was 3.5, the older boy. It was very much a lot of new life happening, a lot of new words, a lot of new experiences for them.
Okay. What did you do to be integrated in this new family?
Well, when I arrived, it was April, so it was in the midst of the school, the vacances scolaires. So it was really full throttle in with the 3.5-year-old. We did a lot of activities together. My host mom, she worked from home. So it was really a collaborative experience. Even though she was there and she was working, I really always felt like her and I were a partner in this. There were very few times where I was truly alone with the boys, or even with the older boy. It was really a collaborative experience, especially during vacances scolaires. So we would take them to the Fête Foraine, we would take them to the zoo, we would take them to the aquarium when I first arrived. So it was a really good way to create a little group within the family. It was me and the mom and the boys, and it was on vacances we would spend the days together and we would find ways to spend time together, and it really helped. And when it was us, we would only speak English. That was really important because my host mom, like I've said, she spoke English. So I would speak English to her, and it made the boys, although they were hearing English, they weren't hearing people communicate in English. So it was really about enhancing our dialogue, and that really integrated us, the English sector of the family. Because of course, when Dad came home, it was French.
So, what about your French? Did you learn French in France?
I did, and I'm very, very proud of where my French has come. I started out by taking the classes that Butterfly offered online, and then I found when the fall of 2022 came around, I was taking classes at a local NGO I live in La Campagne in Rambouillet, so it's a suburb of Paris, and I found this NGO, and it was like 14 euros for an entire year of twice a week French tutoring. Like it was the best deal I ever could have found. I couldn't recommend it enough. So through this NGO, it wasn't just French classes, but it was also concerts, and they had a cafe where young people could come together. It was oh, I can't remember the name of it, a jeune culture maison, something like that.
Maison de la... Maison des jeunes ou maison de la culture.
Oui, exactement. So it was just a really great way to integrate me into the youth of the city because it's I don't know if you've been to Rambouillet, the age of people here is a little bit older. There's not a whole lot of young people here. So it was a really good way to integrate me into the young people that I found here. So I spoke French with some friends, and then my French classes were, of course, very helpful. And my host dad, he loved quizzing me. My host grandmother, whenever she came for Sundays, we would always do Sunday lunch with her. She would go through the kitchen and make me start doing vocabulary on different kitchen, like the poireaux and the sauteuse and things like that. So that was definitely helpful.
Okay, so did you learn also cooking or other things that the French?
Yes, so my host mom has a true passion for cooking, and now I have on my email, she would just email me recipes, and I have a whole folder on my email of just recipes. The crepe recipe, the our banana bread recipe, the bechamel sauce, you know. So I definitely, again, she was working from home, so it was very collaborative. It wasn't just me cooking dinner, it was us cooking dinner. The boys loved, as they got older, they loved cooking with us. So it was really a collaborative experience of all of us in the kitchen learning all at the same time. So she definitely helped me with that.
All right. What was the objective for you before leaving this experience to be au pair? Did you have some objective or dream you wanted, or some experiences you wanted to live most of all?
Yes, I mean, I desperately wanted to travel. Like I said, I hadn't left the US besides a cruise to the Bahamas and Mexico, but that's it. So I really wanted to travel, and I've had the opportunity to do that. I went to Tunisia twice with my host family for my host mom's work. So we went to Tunisia, we went to Greece, I went to Spain. I mean, I traveled all over Europe. I That was something I really desperately wanted to do. I think I've also mentioned I want to work in the nonprofit sector. That's something I really wanted to do. So it was really important to me to have time to volunteer. So I did some volunteering at the American Library in Paris. So I'd go into Paris and do events there and help out there just to get some volunteer experience. But I also had the opportunity to volunteer with the foundation that my host mom runs. So it was really a well-rounded opportunity for me to continue towards my career goal, working in the nonprofit sector, but also passions, which is reading is a passion of mine. So I wanted to have time to read. I wanted to travel. I had the opportunity to do those things. So as long as I could fulfill myself while taking part in this experience, so you can't beat that. So
All right. What is the best age, according to you, to live a au pair experience?
I always felt getting in at 25 that all my other au pair friends were at least 22. Like I felt older than all of them. I can't imagine having gone through this experience at 18. I know people do it. I definitely would not have been prepared for this experience at 18. I think anyone who does it like right after high school is incredibly courageous. I think after university, you have some direction, and this can help you continue to narrow that direction. I think 25 might have been a little late because now I'm 26 and feeling like, okay, now it's time to get it started. But I think after university, I would recommend going to university first, just so you can get that out of the way and then, I don't know, get a grad master's after this. I applaud anyone who's able to do this at 18 right out of high school. Move from your mom's house to another mom's house, but I don't know that I would recommend it. I think after university would be best.
Okay. And you say that it requires some courage.
Mm.
What does it require as qualities to do it also?
It requires a certain level of introspection, being able to understand who you are as an individual, the energy that you bring into someone else's home, the qualities that you bring into someone else's home, because that's something you really important to remember that you are a guest in this other person's home, that you are going to bring your baggage, you know, on the days that are a bad day. You're going to go downstairs and see these young, impressionable faces and have to be your best self, but also know that you can be supported by these people. So I think it requires a really important level of introspection as to where you're at in these moments, how you can show up, and to know that your energy is going to be absorbed not only by this family, but by these children. Because you're going to become very important to them. You're going to become a very solid, stable figure in their life if you stay for 6 months, a year. I know some people stay for 2 years with the same family. So that's really important to acknowledge as well. My mom kept telling me that I was so brave, that she thought I was so brave to do this. And I didn't really know that that's a word that I would have described it as in the beginning. And then I got off the plane, and my host mom was standing there with a coffee because she asked what kind of coffee I liked. And she had the 3-year-old with her, and I looked at them. I was like, what have I done? What did I just set off to do? Like, it didn't set in until I looked them in the face and was standing in the Orly airport and was like, I'm here now. Here we go. I think during the whole prep process, I didn't really have the full conscious of what it was going to be until I arrived. So doing things like this podcast, I know YouTube, there were tons of videos about, the au pair experience. As much research as you can before showing up is extremely helpful.
Thank you. How long did you stay in the family?
I ended up staying for a year and a half. So we extended just for a little while just because it was April by the time the year was up. It wasn't quite the end of the school year. So we extended for a couple of months, and then I left in August before they went back to school.
And is there some times when you were done? I can imagine, and sometimes when you were up. How did you manage the period where you were done? Because in France, for example, we have 4 seasons, and the weather is not the same that in our own country. And I know that is a subject or topic that sometimes can be important for the au pair on their mood. So, do you have some anecdotes like that to give us?
I remember, yeah, one time I was really sick. I mean, first of all, when you work with kids, they're beautiful, lovely little creatures, but they're germ monsters. Like they bring germs with them, and you just have to, what they bring with you, you have to succumb to. So everyone got sick. I had a sinus infection. My host mom was like, I know you're sick, but I need you to pick up boys today. First of all, the communication between your host parents is so important. And so she knew I wasn't feeling good. She was like, I need you to pick them up today. I was like, okay, like, of course, it's my job and there's no PTO. That's not how it works. So we'll show up for you. And thankfully, it's not too far from where they lived. So I walked, or no, I drove. I was driving. I drove to get the boy, and he had an awful day at school. And we get home, and he just goes into a full-fledged tantrum. And I had a sinus infection. The antibiotics had just started kicking in. I felt awful. So I got him inside and I was like, I can't do this. I can't. So his mom was there, but she was on a work call, and it was a mess. And I will say that there are going to be moments when that happens. And I think that you have to be honest with yourself, again, with the introspection of, I wasn't in a place to accurately, patiently manage his tantrum. My host mom, I could have said no, but I knew she was in a bind with work, so I didn't want to be in put her in a situation where I'm here to help her. That's my job. So yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing worse than having to show up when you can't mentally, when you can't physically if you're sick, but there comes a point when you just have to. There comes a point when you have to put those things to the side and do what you're there to do. But I think communicating with your host parents is so important because they know that they don't expect you to show up 100%. They don't expect Mary Poppins to walk through the door every day because they know that they're bringing someone into their home. But I don't know, I think it's important that you are able to do what you can in the moments that you can. So, communication. But also, I like the cold weather, so I don't mind the fall. But I know a lot of people struggle in the colder months, in which case, buy sweaters, lots of sweaters, and warm socks.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that communication is key, but the communication is not so easy because you are not talking the same language as yours. It's always difficult for human to express his feelings, his emotions, and to have courage to ask help because sometimes for some people it's difficult to ask help and to say I don't know, and to say can you show me how to do it. Yes, that's right, that introspection for that is important because it requires to overpass our own fears.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was very lucky that I chose a host family where the mom spoke English, so we could have really frank, honest. We had an incredible relationship because we spoke the same language. It definitely took me and my host dad longer to develop a strong relationship because we were communicating half and half, and he was speaking his English that he could, I was speaking the French that I could. Um, so yeah, just learning how to communicate with one another, learning what your relationship with will look like. I know when I originally arrived, I wasn't sure how close I was supposed to get to these people. Like, are you supposed to know everything about me? Am I supposed to know everything about you? How close are we going to become? And little did I know, very close is the answer to that question. At least for me, it was. I don't know. I know everyone's situation is individual, but the answer to that question for us was we would become very close. So, the people who will be in my life for years to come.
And when you get back to US,
No, I'm actually in France right now.
you're still in France.
I'm not still in France. I'm back to US for a little bit, but I'm trying to
Okay.
get a student visa. So ideally, I would like to stay and live in Paris. I really love living here. I love speaking the language. I speak like B2 French now. So as long as I can keep progressing, maybe could have done the podcast in French. I don't know. I didn't want to put us in that position. Maybe we could have.
But you have preferred in English. We can switch in French if you prefer. But yes, we didn't speak about the place when you lived in France. So you were close to Paris, isn't it?
Yeah, so I was in Île-de-France still, in Rambouillet. It's southwest of Versailles. So I was in Rambouillet. It was only like a 35-minute train ride from Paris. So I could easily get into Paris to do the American Library, like I said I was doing. Most of the really, really good friends I made were other au pairs who were in Paris. So I was close enough to Paris. I think as a young person, it's just so much easier to be in cities. I found myself, as much as I loved being in La Campagne, I really enjoyed city life. So I am in Paris now. I'm trying to get a student visa and an internship because I would ideally like to continue living in France.
Okay. And what do you study?
I'm trying to get a student visa with studying French, continuing to further French. There is a language school in Paris that it's 15 hours a week and they provide you with a student visa. And I know it's typically 20. So that gives you freedom to work in addition to the student visa. So I'm hoping to monopolize on that so I can stay here, take French lessons with a student visa, and work.
Okay. And you get your visa with this school
Yeah.
only to with French lessons.
hmm
Okay. What's the name of the school?
Campus Long.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I know they're in the 19th arrondissement, so I have a appointment with them to try to enroll for the spring, and then I'll go home for the. I'm staying with friends. I'm actually going to see my former host family while I'm here, and stay with some friends, and then go back to the States and hopefully return in the spring of 2024 and continue this French journey I embarked on almost 2 years ago, which is just crazy.
Okay. And where do you live? Did you find easily a flat or something?
I'm talking with a friend right now to maybe move into her flat near the Canal Saint-Martin in the 10th.
Okay, and you're in a family or it's a colocation?
No, so it's just my friend has a flat and it has a spare bedroom, so I'm staying with her right now.
Okay, 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 okay. You meet a boyfriend when you were au pair and you still with him?
No, no boyfriend,
Okay,
just good friends.
okay.
I have dated in French though, very very confidently, so that really helped with learning French.
If you had some advice regarding people who would like to be au pair, what would you say, really?
What would I say? I would say to think about where you're at that point in time and be totally comfortable changing it completely. I found myself at times missing my former life, and I loved my life, and I could have, stayed in Denver, stayed doing what I was doing, but I wouldn't change this experience for the world. Like I think you said earlier, it totally changes you as a person. I've grown so much as an individual. My perspective of the things that happen in the world. I was a very sheltered American girl. Now I feel out of place in my own culture. So my advice would be comfortable changing absolutely everything about your life. Be comfortable, be excited about the unknown, be excited about the length of the journey, and know that if you find the right family, it can be the best thing you've ever done for yourself. You can find a new family. Like I've said, like I spent last Christmas with my host family, and they were sad that I wasn't going to be there this Christmas. They were like, "Do you want to come back and spend Christmas with us?" Because they're a family to me, and the relationship I have with them is invaluable. So
Okay, so you're going to do Christmas with them.
I'm going to see them while I'm here, but I'm going to go home for the holidays. But they asked, and I considered
Okay,
it.
all right. I love that. I completely convinced that the relationship you have with your host family is invaluable. That's why I'm so passionate by what we do, because an au pair experience changed a life, and it's very strong for that.
Yeah, it was an incredible opportunity. I only wish I'd done it sooner. That's the only thing I said. I wish I'd done it at 22 or 23. Um, but everything happens for a reason. Opportunities come when they come, and I'm just happy that I did it. And it opened up many doors for me. It made me lean into my soft skills. It made me understand that life isn't all about sitting behind a desk. That's how I kind of felt it was before. It's about so much more than that. It's about travel. It's about relationships. It's about people and culture and the excitement of the journey.
All right. Thank you, really. Do you want to add something?
I think that's it.
Okay. And if we should resume what the au pair experience was for you, if we wanted to give it a title,
I would call it either like be excited about the unknown or enjoy the journey.
be excited by the unknown.
Maybe the other one rings a little bit better for a
All
title.
right.
Enjoy the journey is a little bit simpler.
I like this one.
Thank you so much, Manuela.
C'est la fin de cet épisode. Je vous remercie pour votre écoute. Comme à chaque fois, j'ai pris un réel plaisir à mieux connaître notre invité. Et si vous aussi, vous aimez la grande famille, je vous invite à le partager sur les réseaux sociaux et à en parler autour de vous. Et surtout, je vous serai extrêmement reconnaissante de prendre 2 minutes pour mettre un avis 5 étoiles sur la plateforme d'écoute de votre choix. Je vous dis à très bientôt.